Welcome to FRC Media News for Thursday, August 2nd, 2018. I'm Keith Tebow. On tonight's program, we have an update of Fall River's streetscape project, and we also have details on this weekend's Lizzie Borden reenactment event. But first, as we do each week, we check in with the news headlines of the week. Let's bring in Herald News digital news editor Will Richmond. Will, welcome back. How are you?
Good, Keith. Good to see you again.
Yeah, we're off for 2 of the last 3 weeks because of construction projects. I think they're over. We should be good. We should be able to go forward with our news week in and week out here on FRC Media. Let's start with an update on the King Philip Mill project. Talked about this quite often for quite a period of time. This week, it looks like that the demolition of the King Philip Mill hit a little bit of a snafu. Fill us in.
Yeah, so a couple weeks ago, we learned that the demolition had been halted due to some concerns about the presence of asbestos. It occurred just either shortly before or after the owner of the new owner of the mill, Robert Kafori, was leaving the country on vacation. So he's now back in the country. What he is telling us is that they had done the test for asbestos. For the most part, everything came back negative. But somewhere along the way, there was a water tank that had a like an insulating jacket on it. When they moved the tank out, the jacket came loose and spread some asbestos on a wood pile outside of the building. And this happened to be some of the wood that was rechecked by DEP through their inspection process, and that was what put it to a halt. So he says now they're in the process. They're going to get that cleaned up, get that wood cleaned up and removed, and they should be back to demolishing the mill very soon.
You know, I would think with such a disruption of such an old property that there would be, I guess, even the likelihood of this happening, even though, as you said, Mr. Kafori had run tests on asbestos and had it come back negative. I guess there is always this possibility as things get disturbed during the demolition that something like this would happen.
Yeah, that seemed to be the case. As they removed one item, that sort of set it off. I guess, I think DEP has been in the area. We've had the story about the demolition of the old Healy School and the problems with the finding of asbestos there as well. So, they could have been checking some demolition sites, since they were here, and this one popped up. But, as he tells us, things will be back on track, and we'll see the wrecking balls swinging once again.
All right. Up next, the Route 79 project. Of course, the spaghetti ramps are long gone, and that first phase toward the south part of Route 79 is complete. And now the city got some news with the new fiscal year that they're able to move forward on the second phase of the project, which will, in effect, make the Route 79 sort of more like a boulevard from where the Cove Restaurant is north on Route 79. And this week there was some progress in terms of the city hiring a consultant for the design of the project.
Yeah, so it'd been some time now that since the Mass DOT had received bids for the design consultation services. We've finally heard this week that they have selected that person and put it in the city's hands to sort of work with the company to begin the design process. So we're very much at the beginning of phase 2 here. Certainly, I think everyone remembers the amount of time that phase 1 took, especially if you would travel through the waterfront area. So we're a long ways away from starting to see work down there, and of course from any sort of completion should we continue to move forward. But at least this is a sign that phase 2 is moving forward, and some design aspects will be coming shortly.
And according to the article by Kevin O'Connor, if things continue to move forward, that based on the conceptual design, construction may begin as early as 2020 or 2021. So again, still a couple of years off before we would probably see anything begin there. But it's good. It's been part of a plan for the city for quite some time to revitalize that whole area and spur some development. So again, every little piece of news is good news in terms of that project, and obviously this is good news for the city. Next up, a couple of items concerning the mayor, Mayor Correa. Earlier this week, it was noted that Mayor Correa was not in the country. He was actually away on vacation overseas, and there were some concerns that normally the mayor would at times alert the city council that he would be away. So in effect, City Council President Cliff Ponte would be the acting mayor in those situations. It's happened before. The mayor was in Paris not too long ago on a mission in terms of looking at their transportation system. But apparently when the mayor left the country this time, not too many people knew about it, and there was some confusion, and there was even talk about the mayor violating the charter because he needed to let people know when he was going to be not in the city. So a lot of confusion, but not really anything that was actionable per se, correct?
Correct. I think, through the new charter, the city council president becomes the acting mayor when the mayor is unable to perform those duties. Currently the mayor is on a vacation from our understanding. He's out of the country. Now, we've come to find, and certainly it's an interesting aspect of the whole new charter process, that while the city council president becomes the acting mayor, and then, that succession path follows down if the city council president is unavailable, which is the case here as well. But there is no formal language in the charter that requires the mayor to notify
Correct.
anyone that he is leaving as well. So, it kind of leaves the council to find out on their own or anything to that effect. Certainly, the spirit of the charter likely entails that the mayor should notify the city council office at least that he'll be out of the country or unavailable to perform his duties as mayor. But, it's a sort of learning process as we feel our way through the new charter language.
Right. It's more of a courtesy that should be afforded the mayor to the city council, but as nothing that's actually has to happen, as you said. So that was just interesting that people start talking about these types of things. And, as you said, especially with the new charter, there are certain actions that take place or should take place, and sometimes people have to refer to the new charter to see if anything was violated whatsoever. Finally, I'd like to, not finally, but before we leave you, we want to talk a little bit about pay-as-you-throw again. At a recent city council meeting, I believe it was City Councilor Brad Kilby had asked Corporation Counsel Joe Macy as to whether the mayor, in effect, can unilaterally cancel or get rid of the pay-as-you-throw project because it is an agreement between the mayor and, in this case, Waste Zero to provide the bags for pay-as-you-throw, while the city council has passed an ordinance in terms of the purchase of bags for such a program. If there are no bags to take place, would there be a program whatsoever? And it was written this week that Corporation Counsel Macy gave his opinion, and it's sort of like, well, the mayor can void the contract or get out of the contract for the city with some notice, but doesn't necessarily mean that the program is canceled. So still a lot of confusion here.
Yeah, certainly, as you mentioned, the mayor has the ability to void the contract. However, the city has adopted an ordinance that requires city residents to use city-issued bags, which, in this case, we've all come to know as the purple bags. So as long as that ordinance remains on the books, residents are expected to use those city-issued trash bags at this point and continuing forward. So there's where the hang-up is at this time. It would mean that the council would need to vote to end that ordinance. So it's as everything as seems to go with the pay-as-you-throw program here in Fall River, it's nothing is easy.
Now let me just ask you this, and I don't know if you know the answer, but it comes down to the city, and would it be the mayor's office that would determine what are the city-issued bags, and I'm putting my fingers in air quotes here, who decides what those bags are?
Well, I believe that's sort of codified in ordinance.
Okay.
But on top of that, there's also a matter of enforcement.
Right.
So, the mayor's office directs enforcement. If he were to say, we're not going to send anyone out to see if the proper bags are being used, that sort of becomes a de facto cancellation of the program as well, in spite of the ordinance. So,
right.
Um, there's probably a lot of ways around this, but it would take the mayor's office providing that direction to kind of move away from the program completely.
So as much as we talk about pay-as-you-throw, we continue to talk about pay-as-you-throw, and I'm sure we will as the weeks progress. All right, Will, what's coming up over the next few days?
As you mentioned earlier, you guys will have a preview of the Lizzie Borden activities coming up this weekend, and so we will have full coverage of the Lizzie Borden anniversary on Saturday. All the tours, the people who come to town, come to enjoy the day. So, it'll be a Lizzie weekend once again for our annual holiday here in Fall River.
Right, and of course the anniversary is the 4th, and it's a Saturday this year, so probably a lot of activity around around the house on 2nd Street. All right, Will, we'll talk again next week. Take care.
All right, have a good weekend, Keith.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Nursing Assistant, South Coast Health Urgent Care, located at 450 William S. Canning Boulevard, is looking for a part-time nursing assistant to provide basic care to patients, personal hygiene, mobility, nutritional support, and assistance to the urgent care staff. Job number 1085-1534. Seasonal Park Interpreter. The Department of Conservation and Recreation seeks a full-time seasonal park interpreter to provide visitor information, research and develop interpretive programs, and assist with special events and organizations at Fall River Heritage State Park. Job number 1085-3278. Automotive Technician. Monroe Muffler and Brake Service, located at 129 Rhode Island Avenue, is in need of a full-time automotive technician to inspect and test vehicles and complete preventative maintenance. Job number 1085-4351. The Fall River Public School Department, located at 417 Rock Street, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions for the 2018-2019 Fall School Program. 4th grade elementary teacher, job number 1085-1981. Paraprofessional, job number 1085-1931. Stepping Stone, located at 466 North Main Street, is looking to fulfill the following full-time positions. Cook, job number 1083-7648. Case Manager, job number 1083-7646. For more information on these or other positions, visit jobquest.detma.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. Construction, traffic delays, and detours, they're all part of the ongoing city streetscape program now underway through parts of Fall River. City Administrator Kathy Ann Viveris has a progress report.
It's moving along. The project has had some challenges, and it's a lot of it is typical to urban communities. There are a lot of underground utility lines and old infrastructure that's not really known to the city, and so when they go in and they try to address the underground utility upgrades, whether they be gas, water, sewer, stormwater, they're encountering a whole new world of underground substructure. But the project is moving forward, and they were discussing as recently as today that they're getting ready to start to pour sidewalks, and I think the residents over the next month or two are going to start to see the project move from construction into completion of sorts. So it's going to start to look very attractive.
And why don't you give us the update on the attractiveness?
So they are in the process of adding ADA compliant ramps throughout the district, which is important. They'll be getting new sidewalks, clearly new lighting, which is very attractive. In some areas, we're actually creating bump outs within the sidewalk areas so that the businesses are going to be able to do some outdoor activity, which will be very nice. And overall, I think it's going to be very conducive to our neighborhood businesses, which was really one of the primary objectives of the project. We have a different design ongoing on East Main Street, and that project's moving along very well also. And they'll be getting new lighting and new sidewalk and new street, and new signalization. Important up in that area. They're going to get new traffic signals at some intersections that have been non-compliant with pedestrian crossing and that. So that project's underway as well.
The Fall River Fire Department has added recreational space to the training facility dedicated to a former fire chief. Here's more.
It's dedicated to probably the most iconic, greatest fire chief, not just in Fall River, but probably of all the South Coast, Massachusetts, and New England. And that was Fire Chief Louis A. Shea Jr. So when this whole facility was dedicated by Chief Dawson back in 2002, he dedicated his whole training facility to Chief Shea. And his memorial stone, which you see here behind me, was also dedicated back then. But over the years, we decided that we wanted something that, number one, would really reinforce how dedicated Chief Shea was to the fire department. Number two, we wanted something where our men who train in this facility in the middle of the summer, who are training here today, in the heat of summer, had some refuge to rest for a while. So we decided to build this. And the third most important thing is this facility is used not just by the Fall River Fire Department, by the public, by other fire departments throughout the state. So we wanted to showcase the Fall River Fire Department, and this is what we did here with this park. And this was all built, believe it or not, by all the Fall River Fire Department volunteers. So that's just amazing to me.
As we mentioned earlier, this Saturday, August 4th, marks the 126th anniversary of the infamous Borden Axe murders. To commemorate the historic event, a reenactment will take place this weekend at the Borden's former Fall River home, now a bed and breakfast on 2nd Street.
They're very historically accurate. You relive the situation. The murders have already occurred, and you walk into the situation and you're introduced to Bridget, who talks with a great Irish brogue, and she tells you about her life in the house, and then you move into one of the murder scenes. And so everybody is played by, every person is a real person in real life, and they're scripted. So you get a real sense of the period and what was going on that day. So they're quite enjoyable and well done.
I play Lizzie's Uncle John. Her mother, Sarah, was my sister. Okay, and how hard is it to play? I just try to channel him as best I can. I've done a lot of reading about him, looked at photos. I have fun.
Just give us a visualization of what you'll be dressed like.
I will have a beard and gray hair and a wool suit on, a sack suit, so it's interesting looking, a string black tie, a pocket watch, and that about summarizes Uncle John. He had one gray suit from what I read, so he wasn't a clothes horse by any means.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Here we have Mac. Mac is an older beagle. He's about 11 or so years old, and as you can tell, he's very obese. Since he came in, we've been trying to work his weight down. He's been here for a couple weeks. So far, we've managed to drop a few pounds off him. We're gonna keep going with that. Very, very nice dog. The only, like I said, the only real problem is his fatness. So we would need somebody that is willing to continue keeping him on the diet that he's on, keep shedding those pounds. Definitely want to be, I wouldn't say super active, but regular walks in a day just to get him off of his feet. He does still move around surprisingly well for how much he weighs. Just so you folks know, when he came in, he was about 75 pounds. For a beagle, if you didn't know, that's pretty darn big. But like I said, as long as he keeps active, keeps on that diet, he'll be fine. So if you want to meet Mac, come on down to 300 Linwood Street, Fall River, Massachusetts, and he is here at Forever Paws.
Today we have 4 20-week-old kittens. They are from the same litter. They're domestic short hair, and they like to play. So if you want to come down and adopt one or two, feel free to come down and put in an application form. We are Forever Paws, and we are located on 300 Linwood Street. We are open every day from 11 to 4, except for every Wednesday we are closed.
Once again, the Fall River Council on Aging is offering farmers market coupons to senior citizens. Although the coupons have recently been distributed, eligible residents can check in with the Council on Aging office to see if there are still some available.
To be able to receive the coupons, you must be 60 years of age or older, be a Fall River resident. You must bring proof of identification, a picture ID that lists your date of birth and has your current Fall River address, or if you live at Baresi Heights and are disabled and receive the nutrition program from Bristol Elder Services, you are also eligible for the coupons.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can catch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. or online 24/7 at frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. Keep cool. We'll see you next Thursday.